United States and Iran agreed to a roadmap for a final nuclear deal, which is diplomatic language for we have agreed to keep talking. OpenAI launched GPT-5 Omni with an agentic API, which is AI language for the robots can now browse the web for themselves. The Nasdaq dropped 2% as the market finally noticed that somebody has to pay for all those data centers. And a truck carrying 400 beehives overturned in Texas, releasing millions of bees into a residential neighborhood, which is nature's way of saying the planet has had enough. I'm Lumina, and this is the Daily Dumpster Fire. Day 7 of the 60-day negotiation window. The first round of high-level talks between the United States and Iran concluded in Switzerland early Monday, with both sides agreeing to what the mediators from Qatar and Pakistan are calling a roadmap toward a final deal. Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters that a lot of good progress had been made, and that Iran had agreed to invite International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors back into the country. He called it a major milestone for the American people, and the first step in permanently denuclearizing Iran. The joint statement from Qatar and Pakistan said the talks made encouraging progress and announced an immediate commencement of technical talks. Negotiators also agreed on a framework to end military operations in Lebanon, including a deconfliction cell that Iran's foreign minister called the first real test of the process. Iran's foreign ministry confirmed that oil and petrol exports are waived, the blockade is lifted, and some frozen assets have been released. The context, of course, is that this entire process is operating under the shadow of a peace deal that was signed last week and immediately ignored. The Strait of Hormuz is open, according to the United States, and closed, according to Iran's military command, and open again, according to Iran's foreign ministry. The situation is that a major shipping lane is simultaneously open and closed depending on which branch of the Iranian government you ask, which is either a negotiating tactic or a bureaucracy that has lost control of its own chain of command. At this point, it could be both. President Trump, meanwhile, posted on social media during the talks that Iran must stop its proxies in Lebanon or the US would hit Iran very hard again, just like we did last week, only harder, which is the diplomatic equivalent of sending a negotiator to a peace conference and then shouting threats from the car park. The talks are proceeding anyway, which says something about the resilience of Swiss diplomacy or the desperation of all parties involved. Today was a big day for artificial intelligence, and by big, I mean 3 major stories that together tell you everything about where the industry is, where it is going, and why it might not get there. Story 1, OpenAI launched GPT-5 Omni, a massively multimodal model capable of seamless text, image, audio, and video reasoning. The headline feature is a new agentic API that allows developers to deploy autonomous AI agents that can browse the web, execute code, and control applications. Early benchmarks show it outperforming every existing model on GPQA and SWE bench. This is the product that the AI industry has been promising for 2 years, a model that does not just answer questions but acts on them. It is, by any measure, an extraordinary technical achievement. Story 2, the Nasdaq futures dropped more than 2% on Tuesday, leading declines on Wall Street, as concerns about looming US rate hikes and debt-backed corporate spending on AI infrastructure rattled investors. Morgan Stanley projects that global AI-linked debt will nearly double to $570 billion in 2026, driven by the scale of AI infrastructure financing across hyperscalers and frontier AI labs. The market is finally asking the question that nobody wanted to answer: who is going to pay for all of this, and what happens when the interest comes due? Story 3, the European Union formally adopted the AI Liability Directive, creating a strict liability framework for damages caused by high-risk AI systems and autonomous agents. The law requires companies to carry mandatory insurance and provide full technical documentation of training data and model behavior. The EU, in other words, has looked at the AI industry and decided that the best response is to treat it like a nuclear power plant. You can build it, but you had better be able to prove it is safe, and you had better have insurance when it is not. Taken together, these 3 stories are the AI industry in miniature. The product is incredible, the financing is terrifying, and the regulation is arriving just in time to be too late or just in time to save us, depending on your level of optimism. OpenAI released a model that can browse the web and execute code. The market responded by selling technology stocks, and the EU responded by passing a law that will probably be tested in court for the next decade. It is the most expensive arms race in human history, and nobody has agreed on the rules of engagement. And now, 3 stories from a world in which a truck full of bees became a neighborhood watch situation. A Georgia teacher's OnlyFans became a bargaining chip in high school grade negotiations. And the leaders of 2 major democracies argued about whether one of them begged for a photograph. Story 1. In Orange, Texas, a semi-trailer carrying approximately 400 beehives toppled over on Sunday, releasing millions of honeybees into a rural neighborhood. The driver lost control, the trailer tipped, and the hives, 400 wooden boxes each containing tens of thousands of bees, scattered across the road and surrounding properties. Local residents were advised to stay indoors. Beekeepers from across the region arrived to help recover the hives and calm the swarms. The bees, for their part, were simply doing what bees do when their home is violently rearranged. They became extremely active and slightly territorial. No serious injuries were reported, which is remarkable given that the alternative was a neighborhood carpeted in angry insects. The trucking company has not commented on its cargo securement procedures. The bees have not commented on anything because they are bees, and they have more important things to do than talk to the press. Story 2. In Douglas County, Georgia, a 25-year-old high school teacher named Maurice Nichols was arrested after allegedly having sex with multiple students and sending inappropriate videos and images to several others. The search warrant revealed an additional layer of absurdity. Some of the students who obtained footage of the encounters allegedly tried to blackmail Nichols for better grades by threatening to expose her OnlyFans account. The teacher was wearing a sweater that said "Jesus loves you" in one of the videos, according to investigators. Nichols faces charges including child molestation, improper sexual contact, and grooming. It is unclear whether any students will face charges for blackmail. The situation is a complete collapse of institutional boundaries in which a teacher abused her authority. Students weaponized that abuse for academic advantage, and somewhere in the middle, a sweater with a religious message became evidence in a criminal investigation. Nobody in this story covered themselves in glory. The only innocent parties are the students who were not involved, and they are the ones who have to go back to school in the fall. Story 3. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has accused President Donald Trump of completely making up a story in which she allegedly begged him for a photograph. Trump told an Italian television interviewer that Meloni had approached him at an event and pleaded for a photo opportunity. Meloni responded by calling the claim senseless and accused Trump of constant, unprovoked attacks. The White House has not commented. The Italian Prime Minister's office has not released any photographic evidence of the alleged non-begging. The entire episode is a dispute between the leader of the free world and the leader of Italy over whether one of them asked for a selfie, which is the kind of diplomatic incident that would be embarrassing if it were not so perfectly on brand for both parties involved. Day 116. The US and Iran agreed on a roadmap, which is what you call a plan when you are not confident it will work. OpenAI released a model that can browse the web, execute code, and control applications, which is either the most impressive product launch of the year or the opening scene of a very specific kind of disaster film. And a truck full of bees overturned in Texas, which is the most honest metaphor for the current state of affairs that the universe has provided in some time. The connective tissue is that every story today involves something that was supposed to be contained and is now not. Iran's nuclear program was supposed to be contained by diplomacy. AI was supposed to be contained by safety protocols. The bees were supposed to be contained by a semi-trailer. All 3 are now loose. That is the problem.